Now I'd like to introduce you to Richard Palatini, creative director at an ad agency, a person with many years of experience working with creative people and also writing a book now on creativity. He is also a faculty member and teaches creativity. It is my pleasure to welcome Professor Palatini.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Rich Palatini. I'm Senior Vice President and Creative Director of Genatino and Meredith Advertising. And as was mentioned before, I'm also a graduate and alumni of Fairleigh Dickinson University. So it's good to be back here and be back home as part of our FDU family. What I want to talk to you tonight about is ideas. Ideas, innovation, and creativity as it applies to building businesses, marketing, advertising, all those things that tie together to make businesses successful and thrive in today's economic climate. Here's idea number one. When have you gotten to a presentation, business or otherwise, when you were given an unconditional money-back guarantee? Well, here's the guarantee. Before this presentation ends, you will have learned something new about innovation and creative ideas, or you will receive a full refund. So that was idea number one. Here's number two, and it's not my quote, but it's by a gentleman named James Webb Young. It's an idea is nothing more nor less than a combination of old elements. So whether we're starting a business, coming up with a creative idea, or any type of innovation, remember, don't go for the ideas that you think have never been thought of before, because they basically have been thought of. The idea is, how do we put them together? How do we make them new, fresh, different, but most of all, relevant to the people who are our customers or consumers, or the people that we want to have a business relationship with if we're developing companies and things like that. Idea number three, all ideas are not created equal. Now, that's not to say that ideas that at first don't seem good are necessarily bad. What it means is that these ideas may just not be at the right time, presented to the right people, or configured the right way. So it's always a challenge to determine which is the right idea, which is the wrong idea. How do I change these ideas? How do I make this idea more exciting? Who do I work with to develop these ideas? Business partner, a creative partner, or do I do it myself? But remember, a lot of times the idea itself is not the bad one. Maybe it's the application. So always consider it and consider it seriously. Also, ideas are willing to sacrifice themselves. And we see this every day in business as in advertising. Because when we start at one point, coming up with ideas, we don't know how far we have to progress. But in that progression of ideas, product development, marketing, sales, advertising, we go through that transition till we hit a point where we know we're saying the right things to the right people with the right message, or that product has been developed to the right point with the right components and the right manufacturing at the right price. So all those things are important. So when we say that's a bad idea, if it leads to the right idea, which generally it does, use it as part of the development process of your ideation. That's critical. Never say, oh, that's a terrible idea. What was I thinking of? You want to say, what did I learn from that idea being wrong? How do I improve that idea? Those things are important. Another thing to remember, the best ideas are pithy. Pithy means short, concise, and clear. A business plan can be very complex, but what you're selling and how you sell it and what the customer needs to know to interact with you and take action and either take that service, take that product and make it theirs is a simple thing. We go through a very involved process in doing that. Lots of research is done. At our agency, we're constantly looking at the way people think, how are they evolving, what is the transition of the market because of what the outside influences are, the overall economics, what's the competition doing. So remember, the best ideas are simple ones. Simply communicate. When I say iPod to everybody, you don't need to know what's inside that case. Or when you go to iTunes, I don't need to know what's the background with that. All I know is when I'm clicking, I'm seeing what I want. It's incredibly easy to download, and I've got a music store basically on my computer. Remember we were talking about combinations of ideas before? That's iTunes. Music store on my computer. Put them together. Has it been thought of before? No, but individually it had. So that's when we talk about combinations of old ideas. Also, idea number 5, there is one great idea behind every great idea. That idea is emotion. Nowadays, we know that people are most connected with brands, businesses, the services they provide, and the advertising that's done based upon emotion. We balance emotion with functionality. Yes, I want that. I want that really bad. that really satisfies my needs emotionally. But why would I buy it? I need that functional basis to balance it, but the main driver in today's marketplace is emotion. So you always want to appeal to people's self-interests. That's why Porsche created the Cayenne SUV. I've got a family. I can't get that coupe, but that SUV, I can put the soccer team in the back seat, so now I can get a Porsche. You see how that kind of matches up? And that emotion can be satisfied. So remember, emotion is generally the key driver, whether you're developing a business or products and you want to attract buyers or investors, or you're coming up with ideas. Very important to remember. And above all, here's an idea that we don't use enough these days, and that's having fun. I don't mean laughing and joking and goofing around. What I really mean is being more like a child. Childlike ideas. When we channel our inner child, we find that all those things that get in the way of being creative and coming up with fresh ideas and business plans that are a little bit different, that give us the opportunity to say things and do things differently that people are going to recognize, come through much more clearly. We become much less connected with, we can't do this, it's too expensive, people will never buy it that way. We take all those negatives because children don't think that way. Until adults tell them, no, you can't, or stop that, they have fun, they enjoy, they do, and they're free thinkers. So we want to do that. We want to keep doing that. That's an important thing to remember. Number 7, embrace no. Everybody says, well, I'm a yes person, or I think positively. Why would I suggest embracing no as a way of being an idea person? Well, there's this saying that we learn more from our mistakes than we do from our successes, because when we are successful at something, say, that's great, what can we do now? But when we have some type of stumbling block or some problem, we look at it, we analyze it, we say, how can I improve these things? What can I do better? What can I do to be more successful to do those things? And we look at those things. You know, when you get a test, all the answers that you get right, you kind of breeze by. Or when you get some kind of evaluation, and you go, what didn't I get? Why did I get this wrong? And you analyze that. We do that in business as well. It's an important thing. Always look at it as an opportunity to improve, to change, and to grow. No can be a positive word if we think about it that way. Here's another thought. Whether you're starting a business, whether you're advertising, whether you're trying to put a brand out there, logos don't matter. Now, a lot of graphic designers will tell you otherwise. But I don't mean logos that matter in the sense that they are totally irrelevant. But in today's internet, emotion-driven world, what it means is that logos and graphic identities represent a brand personality. And when we see that logo, what it tells us is, that's the brand. I get an emotional connection with it, I understand it, and it represents that. Think of it as a picture of a person, and that person would be the brand. And you know, when you see a picture of a family member or a friend that you have, and you see that picture, it touches off emotions. And it's the same way we want to think about logos and design that represents that these days. What really matters, as I said, as number 9 says, is that personality matters. We want to understand between a brand or between a company and the people that are its customers, that there are shared values, that there are understandings, that there's a belief that when we interact, everybody benefits in some way. If we feel that there's no connection there's no relevance, we generally won't enter into a relationship with them, and that's critical to remember. So the personality does matter. And as we're talking about people and relationships, we have to understand that people own brands nowadays. Another suggestion that I want to give to you, the idea is, and something that we don't do enough of today, is to read. And I don't mean reading a textbook, reading a newspaper, going online and reading some articles at sportsillustrated.com or whatever you happen to like to read. What I'm talking about is just reading for general enjoyment. Here's another idea. Sit somewhere, sit in a room for 30 minutes and think. And I don't mean think about, what do I have to do today? Do I have to do my laundry? Do I have to go pick up my dry cleaning? Do I have to go to the supermarket? Do I have to call my boyfriend or girlfriend? Just think about things, ideas, dreams that you have, something that you've always wanted to do and how you might do it. These types of things go along with fun. And if you can have fun while you're thinking like that, it puts everything in perspective. These are great things to do for people who are just trying to come up with ideas. Very often, we talk about people getting together in groups and brainstorming. This is a 30-minute individual brainstorm where you can take those ideas, and if you sit down, and before you sit down, say, I'm going to figure this out, or I'm just going to let myself go and put this in the back of my head. We're so busy nowadays, we don't get a chance to do that. I was sitting in the theater last night. And of course they say, you know, turn off your cell phones before the play starts. And 2 people in front of us, you can see it's bright as day. They're over there texting away.